Thokozani, makhosi lamakhosikazi.
Thokoza Ndlovukazi.
I'm just failing to add one of our co-hosts. Please bear with me. I'm sorry about that. She can't be invited. I wonder if her account is private or something. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our first space, and we're really excited to be here. My name is Ngiyaziwa Ndlovukazi from the Kingdom of Heru. Those who are on Kemet chat will know me as Queen Salima. That's me, and I am joined by my co-host. Would you like to introduce yourself, my co-host?
Thank you, Ndlovukazi. I am a rural Alkebulan, a member of GEK, and I'm a member of GEK because of the color of my skin. And welcome, everybody. We hope we're going to enjoy today's lecture.
Thank you. So today our topic is mainly the African calendar. We're really looking at the basics of it because it's not very known. So I mean, the Europeans have celebrated their New Year, on the 1st of January. We celebrated with them according to their Gregorian calendar. everyone under the sun has celebrated with them. The Chinese just had theirs recently, this month, according to their, is it lunar calendar, and many other nations they do actually celebrate with them. And then we have the African New Year, and then there's silence. I mean, even our count, us Africans, we're not even aware that we also have our own calendar and our own African New Year. So we're here to talk about that, and to understand, is this thing of calendars a recent invention? Um, you know, did our ancestors not have a sense of time? And I guess to help us with this discussion, we've asked the CEO and of the Zinzi Mandela Foundation and co-founder of the Zinzi Mandela Foundation. Um, the Mandela Foundation is a parent of the GEK movement. So the GEK movement stems from there. And Mkhulu Singiza is the CEO, and he will be speaking to us and clarifying a few things about, the basics about the African calendar today. So, I mean, he's our walking encyclopedia at the moment. I mean, at least for me, I think. What do you think, Rural Alkebulan?
Of course,
What do you think?
of course. Of course, guys. I mean, we had Ubab Credo before, and walking along with Umkulunzingiza. So, since Sika GK, we are relying on his, teachings, and we are very blessed to have him today to kindly share where are we and why are we really a nation that subscribes to any culture other than our own. We just want to understand, did black people didn't have a track of time, that we know, like we know that the colonizers, when they came here, they found us living, and we want to understand, how did we live, since now we can see they control everything. Where did we go wrong? That's what we want to understand, and Mkhulunzingiza is here to share that light.
Mhm. Kulu, could you please? I sent you an invite, so it would be like a mic. So maybe if you can tap on the mic, and then you can come in as a speaker. I've also sent a mic to Mkhulu Nkosi. So maybe if you can tap on the mic, and you can then come in as a speaker as well. I'll I'll just cancel and then re-invite Kulun Singiza. I've sent you an invite, Kulun Singiza, so you'll probably see a mic. Just tap on it. Whilst we're waiting for Mkhulu Singiza, is there anyone who would like to just come in and give us maybe a brief of what they know about this whole African calendar? What do you know about the African calendar? Anyone? Whilst Kulu is getting himself ready.
If I may come in there,
Yeah,
Dovgazi.
yeah,
Mainly,
sure.
there's no hand up at the moment. You see, like for instance, right now, I didn't know about the African calendar.
Mm.
What I mean, I grew up knowing that Christmas is in December, New Year is on the 1st of January, and I did not know where was that based on. So after learning from GEK, we are starting to understand that we are actually uh, lost, you know. So we as African people have disconnected ourselves from nature. As we know, sisibiza ngabantu belanga, and we have been living before the colonizers took over our beautiful land of our forefathers. And as we are seated here, you sometimes ask yourself, how come we are on the southern hemisphere, we celebrate Christmas that we don't even know what is it about in December with everyone who is on the other side of the atmosphere. So really, we are looking forward to hear more on that.
Yeah, I mean, this is really, really important. Thank you so much for joining us, Lomogazi. Lomogazi is our other co-host. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sokozan, hello everybody. My name is Umlomogazi. Just because I was born in December the 20th, which according to the African calendar falls under Jewut Umlomogazi. We are just born with the gift or the talent to communicate and resonate. So that's why I'm Umlomogazi. Um, just want to welcome everyone logged in. We're just here to find out more and understand more about the African calendar, where it originates from, how did it about, how come every black, almost 80% of every black people actually don't know what is an African calendar. How does it affect the northern hemisphere and different to the southern hemisphere? Yeah, it's things that Umkhulu is going to actually break down for us to actually understand. And this is the introduction for today, but we're going to continue sharing more about this so people get to understand more, resonate.
Lomogazi, your network.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Was I speaking by myself?
No, no, no. We can hear you now. It was just a split second
Oh,
silence.
okay. All right. I would just like share something as we wait for Umkulu Singizi to log on. Um, how the Gregorian calendar like came to be about. It was actually established in 1982 when Pope Gregory VIII um, did a revision on the Julian calendar. And after that, it was introduced slowly and it spread across Europe until it got to us. Because mainly it was spread through the Roman Catholics. That's how we got about to the calendar that we have at the moment. But Salibala, and we forgot our own calendar. And I think it's time we remember because I think we do know it. And when you get to understand more about the African calendar, we actually resonate with it because it actually makes sense on when it comes to when is the time to plant, when it's time to get married, when it's time to start out your business ideas, and when to actually establish those. It's actually all linked to the African calendar because you find the Chinese, they actually rely on their own calendar to plan along those lines. Why shouldn't we do so? Why shouldn't we align ourselves to our own calendar, something that resonates with us, the Black people? I think we have to do that. Okay, I'll hand it back to you, Ndlovukazi.
Yes, we've got a speaker, Marin Hlwane. He asked to speak. You can unmute yourself.
Nina bakhulu basekhemu Bhutep Nkosana yebo
Nkosana.
Nkosana.
yebo
Hero.
Heru.
mina awukho lutho engakubalula mpela ngoba sisalindile umkhulu ukuthi asinike umhlahlandlela mpela ngoba beyingane njengasho umkhulu ngama-lecture ekade awenza nemphahlo esifundisa ngawo ukuthi colonize le system nomqondo namaketanga abawenzile ondlebe esikhanyilanga. Kodwa into ebalulekile imkhulu ayisho ukuthi kumele sibumbane ikhalenda iyona into yokwenza umuntu omnyama umuntu ompisholo umhlaba jikelele sibe into eyinye sibe umuntu omunye singabantu singabanguni singabantu belanga usho njalo umkhulu nakwenza lo yelanga kukhulu esifundayo kuyona Great Empire of Kemet. Ngingakho mina ngithi sisozwa isabulelo esekehlela kumkhulu laphayana umkhulu unisingisa ilapho Endlovukazi ilapho Dihudi ilapho Mlomokazi Nkosazana siyathokoza.
Thokoza Khehla, thokoza. Thank you so much. Right now we just closed off the season of Heru. This is why our esteemed royal is saying Heru to me, because he knows me from I'm from the kingdom of Heru. I was born between the 23rd of January and the 23rd of February, so I belong to the kingdom of Heru. Sorry about that. I just want to I just have a request. I was just trying to get Mkhulu Nsingiza in. Sorry about that. He's just connecting. So I was saying I'm from the kingdom of Heru, and we just closed off the season of Heru. We are now in the season of Geb.
And here is Mkhulu Nsingiza. He's got the Zinzi Mandela handle. Thank you so much for joining us, Mkhulu. Thokoza Mkhulu, asikuzwa.
No, i-technology le iyanginikeza i-challenge kancane nginxese kakhulu. Thokozani ngivusele nakubo bonke, bonke abantu who have actually joined us. I hope umoya will lead us the right way. Hotep to Thokozini.
Thokoza Mkhulu.
Thokoza mkhulu Bhutep.
Siyabonga kakhulu Mkhulu for joining us. We were just talking, we were just introducing ourselves and just introducing the topic that we've asked you to come and kind of dissect for us, and bring clarity, and bring bring some enlightenment, because besitsho ukuthi the Europeans were just celebrating their new year in January. The Chinese have just done so this month. And after that, we don't hear about the nation of the Africans, the royals, or the firstborns of the world. We seem to not have anything that's attached to us. So have we lost the plot? Where did we go wrong? What has happened? What is the African calendar?
Yes. Thokozani, Hotep. Yes, I like your point of departure, Ndlovukazi, to say we are the firstborns. Therefore, yonke lento le, all of this, started, with us. We are the first people to actually, construct a calendar. We are the first people to devise a calendar. And that calendar, it's a nature-based calendar, meaning that it is linked, to our revolution, around the sun. But now, because of, colonization that happened on the continent, remember that the victor will always, write, a history according to their view and according to a program of social control that will allow them, to colonize people's minds so that, and change the, people's reality so that it suits exactly, their agenda. That is how we lost, all this knowledge. But, in reality, we are the first people to devise the calendar. The African calendar is the mother of all calendars in the world. You talk about the Julian, the Gregorian, all these calendars, got, their foundation, from the African calendar. Chogos.
Thank you, Mkhulu. And how, how does it tie in with our spirituality? I mean, is it just something? Is this African calendar meant to be like the Gregorian calendar we follow, that is just stuck to the wall, and we're busy just writing X's as the days go by? We just Xing the next day, the day after, and the day after that.
Yes. No, and Ndlovukazi, calendar, it's a guide, it records, and it's a guide, for us in terms of our revolution, a yearly revolution, around the sun. Just a brief history of the calendar. The continent, had three calendar systems: the moon calendar, the lunar, the solar, and the stellar, calendar. So the first calendar was based on the moon, the revolution of the moon around our planet Earth. But now it was discovered that the moon is very erratic. You can't predict with certainty as to whether it will be at this point, the next year. So from there, our ancestors then incorporated our revolution around the sun, which then gave birth to what is now known and used as the solar, calendar. Then the stellar calendar is basically, the tracking of this star that we called, Sobdet, or Coco called it Sobdet, but it's the Sirius star, that tracks the movement of that star. And, the stellar year begins when there is that, heliacal rising of that star with, the sun, or it rises first, then the star, the sun follows. In isiZulu, we call that indonza. That is the Sirius star. Then the calendar that is commonly known and used all over the world. It is, the Gregorian calendar. And the Gregorian calendar, it is the calendar that is influenced or based on the northern hemisphere. So that calendar articulates, the environmental issues of, the northern calendar. It doesn't correlate with us here on the southern, hemisphere. We are on the southern hemisphere. We're not supposed to be using the calendar that is based on the northern hemisphere, which is why we then decided to reintroduce this calendar, because the calendar that we've reintroduced, it's nothing new. If you were to go back, to our languages, our languages, named these seasons or months based on what is prevalent in the environment at a particular time. It was never based on any personality like the Gregorian calendar. You find months named after, Julius. You find months named after Augustus. So that is a political calendar. Our calendar is nature-centered and is based on nature. It, tracks the revolution, our revolution, around the sun. Then the moon calendar, the cycles of the moon per year gives us, 13 months. But the cycles of, our planet around the sun gives us, 12 months. Remember, I always remind people that there shouldn't be that much a difference between the lunar and the solar, because remember that the moon doesn't generate its own energy. It reflects the energy of the sun. So when it's full moon, it's when that energy of the sun is fully reflected, in that, moon. So a lot of people make a mistake and, choose this one against that one. Africans used, a secular calendar was based on, the sun, and the moon calendar was mostly, used, the moon as well as the stellar, to mark, the rituals that were supposed to be done, at the great house, Esgodlweni, and all the rituals, the sacred rituals, were actually based on that, sighting of those crescents, of the moon, from the new moon to the full moon. So that is the story of the African calendar. The calendar, we are the first people who started the calendar. Then after colonization, because the colonizers, they came with all the program, that they were going to use to subjugate, Africa. And one of the things that they used effectively is the calendar, because the continent still uses, the northern-based calendar even today. That is why we felt it's important that we also reintroduce, our original calendar. Before colonizers came here on the continent, we're using this nature-based calendar, and our calendar was based on the equinoxes and the solstices. Those were the markers, those 4 cardinal points. Like now, we are in the season of gap. Gap. We are introducing, yes, introducing a new season as per the African calendar. A lot of people were confused yesterday, falling to the trap that this is the second month of the year. It's not the second month of the year of the African year. Our year started in September. Now, the reason why we experience, that event of the sun yesterday, it confirms that the sun now, it's finally going to depart from the southern hemisphere, now crossing over to the northern hemisphere. So that is the story of, the African calendar. And remember, if a people do not determine their own time, then they become slaves, perpetual slaves to whoever determines, their time. So I think I'm hoping that we will open the discussion, from that, so that we try and see how do we use the calendar, because that was the intention of, Indlovukazi, Zinzi Mandela. That was the intention of Indlovukazi, ukuthi we should use the calendar to unite Africans, just like the Jews, the Chinese, and the Muslims. They use their calendar to unite, themselves. So when it comes, to the Chinese New Year, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You also partake in those celebrations. So this is, the objective of the Zinzi Mandela Foundation, so that, all Africans get to that point, because we are affected by the same energy. Remember that, Ethiopia ushers in the new year on the 11th of September. And Ethiopia is just next door, Egypt, ancient Kemet. So that energy affects us from Egypt to the south. All of us are affected, by that energy. Meaning that the first month of the African year, it's September, not January. So if, we can wise up, as African people, and reawaken all these, indigenous knowledge system, I think we'll be able to actually realign ourselves back to nature. And coming back to your question, Dovgaz, e-calendar is it's not just an ornament that we hang on the wall. E-calendar assists us because it marks, as to what energy is prevalent at a particular time. You need to understand the character of that energy, and you need to also to understand how do you align with the prevalence, of the energy of the season. It has 12 seasons, and all these different 12 seasons are based on the proximity between the sun and earth, which then, makes certain energies, prevalent on earth. We call the principles. When we talk about Heru, we talk about Asa, we talk about Oset, we talk about, all these, 12 principles. We are talking about energies, elements that are prevalent, in our universe. Chokos.
Thank you, Mkulu. That is very, very profound. You mentioned alignment.
Yes.
So currently, because we're using a calendar that has got nothing to do with us, we are basically not in alignment. What does this do to our spirituality? What does this do to us? In terms of our spirits, our vibrations, our energies.
Yes.
All that. How does
Yes.
that affect us in the continent?
It affects everything that we do. Remember that time determines everything, Ndlovukazi. When you kneel at the wrong time, you can never get the answer that you are looking for, because the time that you are kneeling, it's directly opposite to the natural flow of energy of the universe. So timing is everything. You cannot ask, from the creator things that the creator cannot, give you at that time, because as an example, now we're going to March. According to the southern hemisphere, the sun will be hibernating, meaning that the nurturing energy of the sun is departing from the southern hemisphere. It's now on the northern hemisphere, meaning that we have also to hibernate together with the sun. And what happens in our system, because we also get affected, when it is, that time, we might not be aware of it now, because our socialization has moved us, from being aligned to nature. So it affects almost everything that we do, because that is why, Africa has been like this ever since we were colonized. You know, there's nothing positive. There's no invention. There are so many things there, you know, that are normally, you know, in our lives, until we realign. And remember that the calendar, or the African calendar, Kemet African calendar, it then is the foundation of everything. You know, that we do is the foundation of science, is the foundation of mathematics, is the foundation of health. You know, because you've got to know what you know, energy is prevalent at what you know, particular time of the year for me to be able to heal the bones. So if I'm not aware of such things, especially those who are teachers in the initiation schools, you've got to know and understand what is the right time that creates resonance for me, you know, to actually mfaka matwasa, you know, and you know, allow initiates to start the process, initiation. So timing is everything, Jovugas. Once you are not aligned with the natural time, you know, you will struggle to be, you know, the greatest nation that you once were as the African people. Remember that ruled the world, you know, with this knowledge, because from here, this knowledge was taught all over the world, starting with the calendar. You know, the calendar civilized the whole world, the African calendar. That is why they were able to easily plagiarize, you know, our content and information, repackage it, and make it theirs, because they haven't credited us. Even those that, you know, wrote the Gregorian calendar and the Julian calendar haven't given credit, you know, to Africa. So this has been our story. So for us to truly decolonize, you know, we will be required to reintroduce or re-embrace, you know, our own calendar, so that that process is supported by the energy of the southern, you know, hemisphere.
Wow. It's it's very it's very deep. Let me say, Kulu, and you know, I hope that we can all really take this upon ourselves to really introspect and really look into this, into our African calendar, and know it and learn it. And for those that are interested in purchasing, we do have books, the African calendar book. We do have it. It's got all of the 12 principles and the meanings, and the umpasho, you know, amahubo and all. Um, you can find it if you go on our website, www.gek.movement.org. No, www.gekmovement.org. So if you go on the website, you will be able to purchase your own. Currently, it is in isiZulu. If you are well versed in isiZulu, and or if you would like to learn the language, I most definitely encourage you to get one for yourself. There is also the digital calendar that you can get. I don't know if any one of my co-hosts would like to ask Mkulu some questions.
Greetings, Mukulu. Welcome to the space. Thank you. We are honored to have you here today. I'm reminded when you touched on naming the months that Gregorian calendar that we're using now, after a colonizer, Julius Caesar. Every time when we are calling these months, we are actually reviving the spirits of these people. And the more we are using this wrong calendar, the more we are leading ourselves into a destruction. And with that, As far as the colonizers are, I think they are aware about the damage this is causing. We have to remember who we are first, so that we will be able to really connect to the source. And with this calendar, I think it's going to help us to understand where we are. Right now, we've just, Undlovukazi said, we've welcomed a season of gap. I just want you to actually enlighten us. Where are we? What is the prevalent, energy around this time, so that people can understand when we talk about energy during the season of gap, what is actually supposed to be done. Because what I've learned is that when we want to have celebrations or umcimbi ekhaya, you just think ubeki date, I want to do umcimbi whether ukhuphula ubaba ngalesi sikhathi, without even considering what is the prevalent energy during that particular time oyibekayo. Can you just elaborate on that?
Yes, Ndovukazi, starting with the names. The more we keep, talking about these names or saying these names, we are raising the spirit of our colonizers. And the more we keep getting involved or partaking in their ceremonies that have got nothing to do with us. I know a lot of us have got a sentimental connection with, celebrations like Easter and Christmas. Science negates that. Those are celebrations like, as an example, Easter. That is a spring festival for the Northern Hemisphere. It has nothing to do with us. They are welcoming, the sun, after the latent period of winter. We are bidding farewell to the sun on the 21st of March. That is when the sun officially, leaves the southern hemisphere, enters into the imaginary line of the equator. That takes 3 days, meaning that the 21st, the 22nd, the 23rd today, the 23rd like today, it will, in March, it will be on the northern hemisphere. So we've got no business to be doing that, because the more we're doing that, we are weakening ourselves. And, when it comes, to our time to recognize, the ceremonies that, brings resonance and align with the southern hemisphere, we do nothing. Though, 2 important dates, the 21st of June, it's similar to what the Northerners call Christmas, and the 23rd of September, which is our real new year. What happens in September? On the 21st of September, the sun officially leaves the Northern Hemisphere, enters into the imaginary line of the equator. Then on the 23rd, it makes 1 degree southwards. We call the African New Year, because it signifies a new cycle for the southern hemisphere. So it's very important for us to be aware, of the things that we do as African people, and nobody should be blamed for that, because it's our leaders who allowed themselves to be controlled by a calendar that is based on the northern hemisphere, which means that that calendar came with a package that came with what we call the Western construct, the system of the republics that we live under. It came as a package, so therefore they were told not to remove anything that comes with that system. That is why the whole calendar except Ethiopia is using this northern based calendar. So it's very important we should be aware of these things. What poison it's doing to ourselves, to the spirit, you know, remember our ancestors, nesiZulu sithi sibahlubukile. Ever since the colonizers came here, you know, we were twisted, you know, sasontwa, we're no longer facing the correct direction, you know. So it means that we have to realign ourselves with the energy of the southern hemisphere. And remember that it is the very same energy that allowed, you know, our ancestors to actually rule the world with this, you know, knowledge system. So the calendar, like I said earlier on, is the beginning of mathematics and science. And the calendar records the movement of the cosmic bodies. And it also, you know, tells us where we are. And the indication is that, or the confirmation always comes by what we see in the environment, what is prevalent in the environment at a particular time. That is why we named our months. All our months are named based on the energy, you know, that facilitates either, you know, dryness or you know, a nurturing energy which is going to stimulate growth, you know, in the environment, like the 23rd of September or September. Nobody can go against what they see in nature, especially here, you know, in the southern hemisphere. Everything starts greening, meaning that the nurturing energy of the sun is now getting closer again. You know, it's back on the southern hemisphere. That is why we are experiencing all this greening, you know, because that nurturing energy. During winter time, it's dry. Nothing grows because the sun is in hibernation. The sun is in the northern hemisphere. That is why we say it's in hibernation. It's no longer prevalent here on the southern hemisphere. So it's very, very, very important for us as we are talking about the reawakening of the, you know, of the continent. We need to re-embrace our calendar as the foundation of that reawakening.
Thokoza mkhulu, Thokoza. I'm also reminded that I'm also reminded that as Black Africans, this initiative that you have come up with the Zinzi Mandela and GK is for us as Black people to actually go back and get what we lost, so that we can align ourselves to nature, because we can see nothing is good for Black people out there in this system. So thank you, Mkulu, for sharing that. Over to you,
Oh,
Njovukazi.
no. Definitely, you know, and Njovukazi, remember that, you know, it's something that we as African people, you know, if we are really, really serious, you know, in terms of, you know, taking or reoccupying our position, you know, in history, you know, because nobody respects, you know, Africa. And at some point, Africa was the most respected continent in the world. You could never be a scholar if you were not trained by Africans. Bonke laba Pythagoras, all these Greek and Romans were taught here on the continent. So why? Because Africans were still aligned to nature. We are nature-driven people. So we need to realign ourselves back, you know, to that nature. So it's very important for us to acquire, you know, this knowledge. And remember that all that we are saying, all of us, or all the people, they know this. It's just that they've forgotten. You know, we are all here just to reactivate that genetic memory, so that people remember. You know, all this knowledge, you know, is embedded in your DNA. So the more you get enlightened, the more you go and dust all those, you know, ancient texts, is the more you get, you know, enlightenment. And that enlightenment we need, you know, because we've got to rely on the African continent for us to build a better future, you know, for ourselves.
Thokoza mkhulu. As we awaken the mother mind, as Ubabu Credo says, Vusamazulu. Back to you, my host. Thokoza mkhulu.
Thokoza Ntokazi. Thokoza Mkulu. I don't know, does Lomokazi have anything to say? And if she does, I just, before she says what she would like to say, if there's anyone who would like to ask questions, we will be opening the floor soon. So please just raise your hand up and we will throw the mic to you. So over to you, Mlomokazi. No, she seems to be, she's probably having network issues.
Okay.
We do have the villager. The villager, you did request to speak. Would you like to ask Mkulu some questions?
Yes. Greetings, everyone. Greetings, Mkulu, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for hosting this place. Obviously, these are the things that we as Africans should be reactivating, as you earlier mentioned, so that people are aware and then also, obviously, to do something about it. There are two things that I just want to ask. I heard you talking about we as Africans, we named our month based on nature. So now, when I was in primary school, obviously, I learned all those months in my vernac, which now brings
Yes.
the question of saying now, does it mean that if now the year starts in September, we just copy and paste all those? For an example, I'm a vendor speaking person. So
Yes.
the month that I called January, do I just go to September now? I said, okay, now this is the month now that starts in September. Is it just gonna be copy and paste of just shifting the month in terms of like by 9 starting from September going forward in terms of naming? And then obviously the second part of my question or the suggestion or just to say, I think since we're in this system that we can't change, it is time whereby we start celebrating our way using this African calendar. While we understand that we are in this system which we can't change using this political calendar, but I think there should be those days that we should be starting to celebrate so that people start following, or we have to do something about it so that we start somewhere, because we cannot just say since we're using this calendar nothing, it's like nothing we can do about it. But I think there are those
Yes.
days that we have to do something. If then we
Yes.
have to celebrate in September, let's just set that day aside, we celebrate while we're in this system. I think in
Yes.
that way it will be like maybe a moving towards the right direction.
No, Thokoza.
That's all from my side.
No, Thokoza, siyabonga kakhulu Kesh. The first question, you talk about the names. If you are to go to our website, www.gekmovement.org, we have a digital calendar. That calendar, you know, starts with September, you know, as the first month, and then on the side of each and every month, you know, at the top we've put, it has a 11 languages, I think, if I'm not mistaken. The first, Abatwa, Isitwa, the Koi, you know, naming of that month. Then the rest of us, Amashangana, Bezulu, Amavenda, all of us, because we've taken all the names according to, you know, how Abesutu, Amavenda, and all of us are named. So you will find all those names. And remember that Our calendar is going to need a thorough readjustment, meaning that we have to move to a position of, a 10-day week, not a 7-day week. So that will require some time. But now, for now, we can't, focus on that. There are those amongst us who are astronomers who are initiating that process so that they give us the scientific side of things as to when that true adjustment happens. For now, we are more concerned, like you say, Wena Kesha, on the days that would unite us. There are 4 dates which are very special, that we are already living that, here at GK and Zinzi Mandela Foundation. As an example, we are preparing now to go to Epitville. We are going to celebrate there what we call Isililo Sakanomkhubulwane, meaning that the sun is departing from the southern hemisphere. Now we are going to bid farewell to the sun on the 21st, but we have a night vigil that starts on the 20th. So there are 4 dates. Is the 23rd of September. We normally go to Inzalo Yelanga for that. The 23rd of September, we go to Inzalo Yelanga. Then comes, the December date, which is, the 23rd of December. We normally go to Limpopo. Last year we were there at the Tropic of, Capricorn. But for next year, we are going to Kruger National Park because according to the ley lines, of our Earth, this is where, the line of longitude and the line of latitude make a cross. That is where we're supposed to be. And then in June, we are supposed to go to the southern marker. Remember, 23rd of September is the eastern marker. The 23rd of December is the northern marker. The 21st of June is the western marker, and the 21st of June, the 21st of March is the western marker. The 21st of June is the southern marker. So on the 21st of March, we'll be in Bergville, there in the Drankensberg Mountain. They call it the amphitheater, mountain. That is where we will bid farewell to the sun. Then on the 21st of June, we will be in Phoenix, there in Durban. That is the southern marker. So there are 4 dates already that we are acknowledging. We've been acknowledging those dates for the last, 20 years. Just that, as you know, we are in this system that always suppresses anything that is, African. But we've been, consistent in pushing, for the celebration of these days, and also promoting the calendar, that we have reintroduced. Chogoza.
Thokoza Mkhulu, thank you so much. We have our next speaker, Mimi K. You requested the mic.
Hi, Tokoza, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity and the platform. I do have a quick question for Mkhulu Tokoza. You touched lightly on the knowledge being embedded in our DNA. And this is not the first time that I've heard this statement and I've heard this sentiment. However, as much as I've tried to look it up, I don't know if maybe I'm looking or I'm searching the wrong things, but I don't quite comprehend what this means, that the more you open your mind, or I don't know how it is that I can basically get that knowledge that is embedded in my DNA. So I don't know if you can please just elaborate a little bit more what this means, that it is embedded in our DNA, and how do we tap into it so that we can get the knowledge and the solution that is within us. Tokos.
Thokoza, Ndlovukazi. What I mean that, we all have what is called the genetic memory, is based on our DNA. Remember that, the spirit that resides, within you is older than your physical body. So there's nothing that your spirit doesn't know. Your spirit knows everything. And your spirit is also linked to your DNA. So the DNA, it is that storage of all that, ancestral knowledge, because we are the living ancestors. You'll find that amongst us, there are so many, Amunhotep, amongst us, there are so many Imhoteps, amongst us, there are so many Ubabu Credos, so meaning that, as the belief that in Africa that we don't die, but we pass on, meaning that the spirit lives on, and science confirms you can't destroy energy, so that spirit that you embody, your physicality embody, knows everything. All you have to do is to realign back to nature, start living according to the calendar, that we are reintroducing, and start attending lectures, start listening to the knowledge, of people that are teaching about ancient knowledge and knowledge system before colonization. I think your genetic, memory will be ignited, and you'll find yourself understanding things that you thought you will never understand. So the perception, or something that, closes that genetic memory, is the perception. We perceive ourselves as being that of flesh. With the Western system has always taught us. Why? Because Abelungu, that is what they know. They are masters in everything that has manifested. Our ancestors were masters in the principles that are responsible for all creation, on earth. So that is why our knowledge system, or the African or Kemet knowledge system, is superior than the knowledge system of the West, because it's comprehensive. It looks at everything that is physical. Then it also looks at the causal plane. What made an orange? What principles were involved, in creating that orange? So it goes back, to your soul, your spirit, and of God. Your spirit knows everything. Remember, your spirit is also, your soul is linked to the sun. The sun, that is the storage, the universal storage of knowledge. And all of us, as long as we are alive, we are connected to the sun. Remember that, our DNA, the sun produces hydrogen, and our DNA is bonded by hydrogen. So as long as the sun is there, and as long as we are alive ourselves on earth, we are forever connected to the sun. So the knowledge, the thoughts, and everything that we receive directly, from the sun. So, yes, I hope ucaciselekile Ndlovukazi.
I kannete o arabile ntate wa ka, ke a leboha.
Thokoza.
Thokoza mkhulu, thokoza Ndlovukazi. Thokoza Mlomokazi, you're back. Mlomokazi had just she had some technical difficulties, but now that you're back, the mic is yours, Mlomokazi.
Hello.
I guess not yet.
Let's
Not
take the
yet.
questions.
Are there any other questions? Does anyone have a question, please? raise your hand. For those who are just coming, joining us, we are just talking about really, this is the basics of the African calendar. This is like, we're just merely scratching the surface today. For those that are really, really new to this whole concept of the African calendar, we just wanted to kind of introduce the basics of it. It already sounds very deep, but it's actually the basics. As we go along, but we're going to hold these spaces weekly. We will continue to go deeper and deeper into it until most people who are in the on Kemet chat, and those who follow the GEK movement and who follow the decolonization Sundays that are held in Soweto, Eskodlweni. I think they today is like a refresher moment, and it's just we're just trying to kind of help enlighten knowledge. The minute you start to know, for example, myself, when I first joined in, Mkulu hit me with a number of punchlines, and it kind of resonated with my spirit, and I wanted to listen more and more, and it helped me to kind of open my eyes to a really different world. I see things differently now. The more I learn, the more differently I see. I mean, in the season of Heru, which just passed now, we got to witness the falcon, landing on the ground, during our season. That's a beautiful sign. It was breathtaking to see the falcon, landing. We heard stories about the falcon just flying, hovering around, you know, other spaces during the season of Heru. So those are some of the signs that you become aware of as you start to understand the African calendar. So I'm just gonna give the floor to I Am. Would you like to say something, and then the villager will come back in?
Thokozani bonke eniphakathi kule ndlu le yama-African. Although I like to refer to our continent as the Alkebulan. So I'm really, really loving the space and all the knowledge that has been passed thus far. I've just recently joined a chat just now. So I'd like to know more about, our skin, because now we are we are getting to indaba knowing more about skin said to being of melanin. And there is some YouTuber that I came across a couple of days ago, and he actually said that we must stop demonizing the 666 number, because our skin itself is made up of, I may be corrected if I'm putting it wrong, but he said that our skin is made up of 6 neutrons, 6 protons, and 6 electrolytes, if I'm not mistaken. So I would just like to find clarity on that. How does our skin speak to the sun? Because when sime phansi you find tina onsundu that we don't our skin doesn't necessarily turn dark in essence, but yes, we feel the burn, but it doesn't. Now we don't get the irritation unless we are moving more into the westernized culture of using certain products that will obviously make our skin be irritated. But we are known for using shea butter shea butter, for instance. So how does our skin speak to the sun with the 666 number instead of seeing it as a demonic number? Because I'm sure that if that's the case, that it was said to be demonic, it didn't come from us. It came from, the Western culture or the Western people. So that is my question. Ngiyabonga Thokozani.
Oh, Thokoza, Dr. Siyabonga, for that question. Nati Ndlovukazi, we were, hugely surprised when we had, a person omdala like Ujudge Mukhweng demonizing I666. I666 iyiti. We are carbon. When you talk about melanin, you're talking about carbon. So carbon, the signature of carbon, as you said, Ndlovukazi, it's 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons. That is the signature of carbon. And the carbon manifested through us as melanin, and in plants it manifests as chlorophyll. So it's ignorance for anybody to actually start saying that 666 is actually the mark of the beast. Those are Westerners because they fear us. They fear the melanin. Remember, the melanin is the most important chemical, in the body, because it sends and receives, information. So, Abelungu, this is what they fear. So, for us, black people, we can't follow that narrative because it is insulting. When you hear a black person, calling this number 666 the mark of the beast and is associated with evilness and all that thing. Remember that melanin is a protection against the harshness of the sun. Yingako, they call us, children of the sun. Amalangeni, amakalanga, bona belanga. Because of, that very same thing, that we have a natural protection against, the harshness of, the rays, of the sun. So I fully agree with you, Ndlovukazi, and that YouTuber that you listen to. It's a very, very, very important, not only that chemical signature is important for us black people, but it's important for the whole world, the whole universe, because the whole universe is engulfed by carbon. Remember, carbon, it's what we call the prime valley, waters, the carbon soup, where everything, before any other creation, there was carbon. Even today, the whole universe, is surrounded or is, surrounded or carved, by carbon. So carbon is the original, element. Then comes a hydrogen, because the sun burns carbon to produce hydrogen. That, makes us live here on Earth. As you know, that, the environment of Earth, when carbon or hydrogen enters Earth, it transforms into nitrogen. So that is why people like, Professor Oyibo says there's only one element, in the universe, which is, a hydrogen, because everything else, you talk about helium, you talk about, gold, you talk about everything, it's just a repetition of the portions of hydrogen. So hydrogen and, carbon, these are two very important, components that constructed anything that is actually physical. So that number 666, it's our identity. That is an identity of a black person. So there should never be a black person demonizing that number, because you are demonizing yourself.
No, iyazwakala mkhulu kakhulu, and thank you so much for the validation that I'm actually not a demon, but
Yeah.
the child of the sun. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So kuleyo ndawo ngithi thank you, siyabonga nakumathongo ngoba I mean singabantu sizalwa kwantu, so for
Yes.
us to actually sithathe izinto ukuthi zifike nabantu abavela la ilanga lishona khona ekushoneni
Yep.
kwelanga ngomuntu ukuthi umuntu mangikhuluma ngomuntu ngikhuluma ngathi thina onsundu straight bafike
Yep.
bezosifundisa ngathi, because we've got knowledge, we've got so much knowledge that has been hidden from us from lento the great the great university that we had the Alkebulan, where they stole our knowledge and they kept it wherever they have kept and came back manje bona bancedwa yini ukuthi they patent that knowledge to make it their own, but it actually belongs to us. So ngizwe a fellow sister who was asking ukuthi uzovula kanjani her optic the third eye, you know, when she was asking you earlier on. But you were right in saying ukuthi we are embedded with knowledge. It's just that ivaliwe, you know, ivaliwe through colonization that came, because we are people that are filled with knowledge, and izinto bathi zibuza kwabadala, everything ibuzwa yithi futhi abantu abamnyama, yithi abantu abadala bakulo mhlaba. So we must stop looking at ourselves down and thinking ukuthi we are not of great descent. We come from a great people that have once walked this earth, and they recycle with their buya foot, and we come back with knowledge and more knowledge that is endowed in us. So I'm very I'm very proud to be of umuntu omnyama, of a black descent, if I could put it that way. But I know I'm melanin, and I'm very happy and proud to be that. So ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Thokoza Ndlovukazi. Sure.
Thokoza Ndlovukazi, thank you so much. Our next speaker, the villager. Maybe if we can just, you know, give it, you know, just ask direct questions. We have a few hands that have been up for a while. So,
Okay.
Thokoza, the villager.
Thanks once again, Thokoza. Just these ceremonies that you said you normally go to these places like in Realigning, Malanga. So how do one get to join or be part of it? That is the first question. And then also, obviously, these chat Sundays, are they physically in Soweto, or how do I become part of them? Because I'm interested. Because I think my mission here on Earth as well is try to educate people in decolonizing their colonized mind in this day and age. Those are my two questions. I hope, did you get my question? On how do
Yes. Yes, the first one, all our social, I think, you know, Indlovukazi can, you know, direct you. But go to, we are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, we are on Instagram, all the socials under Great Empire of Kemet, Bonabakul. Currently, you know, by tomorrow, there will be a poster for the event of the 21st of March, Le Bigville. So you can then follow us. But if you can, please join Kemet Chat. You know, you can access Kemet Chat through our website, www.gekmovement.org. That is where, you know, you can download the app. You know, this is where we are practicalizing this unity we're talking about. And that unity is, based on the calendar. There are 12 kingdoms. We all belong to one of those kingdoms based on your birth date. So these are the sources, Kesha, you can go to. Especially Lega September, the reason why we actually started, the Twitter space is to then mobilize for Black people to assemble or do a pilgrimage, to the oldest stone calendar in the world. And that site, it's, on that line of the Nile meridian, the golden meridian, that, starts, here in Phoenix, in Durban, right up to Kemet, where, the Great Pyramid of Giza is. And remember, there are pyramids also here in Mpumalanga, meaning that the Mpumalanga structures, both the pyramids as well as the calendar, are older than, the calendar that is Kemet. They are older even, to the Pyramid of Giza. So Kemet didn't start in northern, Kemet, Egypt. It started here in the southern, Kemet. Here in South Africa, Ubab Credo always, taught us that. So it's very, very, very important for us to be able to start somewhere as a Black people. It's so comforting to know Uguti Nami as a Black person. I have what is called a New Year's Day. Because we always witness ama China, but ama cricket right in the middle of the year, as if Tina, we don't have our own. We do have our own, but the system we live under is still, suppressing it currently. So, Kesha, please follow us on our social GEK movement, Bonabakulu, all, social on Twitter, Facebook, as well as Instagram, and all other, our Indlovukazi will remind us of the other social, platforms that we have. Chogos.
Thokoza Mkhulu. Lomokazi is here to remind us. Our next speaker will be Msizi, and then I'll ask Lomokazi to then come in and remind us of all our socials where people can find us. Thank you. Go ahead, Msizi.
Thokozani. Siyabonga for ithuba lihle kangaka. Nginombuzo la mkhulu. Ngike ngibona ukuthi like Asians, they have this culture of astrology. So I'm just checking ukuthi njengoba manje thina sinenyanga, sinezangoma, sinokuhlukahlukana kwabantu abasebenza ngomoya. Babe khona yini abantu who were working specifically for giving about interpretation or predictions or enlightenment, like abantu abama astrologers ngesintu or in Kemet, like we had that special role, and mabe khona babeqeqeshwa kanjani yabo, nanamanje basakhona abantu abanjalo, if you are actually interested in being trained yabo in that category.
Yes.
Then umbuzo owesibili, ngiyengibone like mangifunda ngifile ngazuthi yazi ngingaphahla before I get to study any knowledge. Is there a specific way ofanele uphahle ngayo when you are studying or you want to study something so that mawufunda ukhanye ukwazi ukubona? Is there an order? It's okay, these are the specific energies that you have to call or summon, or this is a way of uphahla njengomuntu ofundayo nje?
Oh, Thokoza, Kesh. Okay, I will start with the 1 year astrologers. Astrology was founded by us. Just to quote a recent, example of an astrologer, Ubab Credo was an astrologer. Ubab Credo was an astronomer. So there are so many of these people are still around, amongst, African people. And remember, Uguti, Intwaso was supposed to be, incorporate astrology. What is astrology? It interprets, the movement, of the cosmic bodies and their effect on Earth. Remember, Okhokho bethu bathi, there are these group of stars they call amadikens. They say that everything that happens on Earth has an effect, from amadikens. So those were stars that were closely monitored, and those stars were also able to give, or enabled abantu to do our predictions, because they would know that if these stars, appeared, at this, time, as well as the conjunction of stars. As an example, the conjunction between, Jupiter and Venus. It hadn't happened for years recently. So astrologers will then interpret that as, a signal for a new cycle for here on Earth. That is why you find that there's so much, consciousness, especially amongst Africans. The level of consciousness, it has, already just shot up because of that. And nobody can take credit of that, because there is this corrective energy that is prevalent on Earth. Izo balance, my art is back, because we've been out of balance, from nature for a long time. So that spirit of balance and order, Skama art, has returned, to call us, into order, as human beings. So astrologers, you have always been there. That was a craft, because everything that is above the cosmic bodies, do have an effect, on everything that happens here on Earth. The cosmic bodies are responsible for our minds, are responsible for our anger. When we feel angry, there's a certain frequency that we draw from these cosmic bodies, because these cosmic bodies, they are the source or the origins of the frequencies, of Earth, which we interpret, or we get to feel as emotions. When you feel happy, Guti, we are drawing from Venus. When you feel anger, you are angry, we are drawing from Mars. So these are all the things, that were very important to Africans, before. And we lost, that information during colonization. Then the second one is ukuphahla ke. Ukuphahla sinalento esibiza ukuthi umphahlo wesizwe. Umphahlo wesizwe uwenza ngoba the principles that we are calling, mesipahla, are the principles that are responsible for all of creation. That is the subject for another day. One of the twister spaces, maybe the coming weeks, where we will then now be talking about the African creation story, which talks about these principles. There are 9 principles that are responsible for creation. That is why even our mothers carry us in their bellies for 9 months, so that those 9 principles are fully, developed. So if you are on Kemet chat, Kesha, please take note of umphahlo, all the time, because mawenza lo mphahlo usuke ushukumeza not the frequencies that are outside you. Usuke uvusa, you are awakening the frequencies that are within you. Because when we talk about Ma'at is within you, when we talk about Heru, when we talk about Shu, when we talk about Tefnut, those are principles, those are frequencies that are within you, are part of you. So I would recommend that, you listen carefully, even when we do umphahlo on Sunday, and follow through, because when you touch and, invoke those, frequencies, those are frequencies that are responsible for creation on Earth. Togos.
Thokoza mkhulu, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm not sure whether Mlomogazi is still having connection problems, but whilst we're waiting for her, we'll move on to Queen Nzinga. Ndlovukazi.
Mhlaba.
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 Agebhu.
Gap.
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 Ngibingelele ekhaya. Like, I'm so blessed. You know, today we were having a discussion about the importance of the earth, you know, given that we are entering into this new season, Yaga Geb. Like, guys, the land is one of the most important things that we can ever possess as a people. Um, Even walking barefoot revitalizes you and brings you back into alignment with you as self, you know. And I just wanted Umkulu to also just highlight on some of the importances that maybe some of us may not be aware of this earth that we are living in, and so that we are able to honor Ugeb properly.
Oh no, certainly. Oh, just to start with, this is the season of abundance. You know, it's also linked to what we call isivuno. You know, it's harvest time here on earth. And, you know, also, which is very important, remember, you know, I don't know, some of those who are in GK, we spoke about the electric field and the electromagnetic field. That is the electromagnetic field, you know, of Earth, you know, in this season, you know, is being, you know, pumped, you know, with the necessary energy from the sun. Remember that in December, what was recharged? It was the electric field, you know, when we were in, you know, Limpopo, when the sun is closest to Earth, the sun, you know, pumps enough hydrogen on Earth for Earth to sustain itself. So now, this season, remember that the electromagnetic field is being recharged, and also this season it's a season that somehow also beats a farewell, you know, to the sun, because it's closer to March, because the next season, that is the season of Osset, that is when the sun officially departs, you know, from the southern hemisphere. So it's a very, very important, you know, season. That is when we also store, you know, after I harvest, we store some of the, you know, seeds that we will use, you know, the next day. But we will give, you know, more details on Sunday, and people can watch, you know, our YouTube, you know, channel. We are on YouTube as well. Those that cannot be here as Godwin physically, you know, can actually watch, you know, a Great Empire of Kemet on YouTube, GEK Bonabakulu, and get to get more details about UGAP. But we will touch on this, you know, a subject on the space in the coming weeks. So we thought, nje namhlanje, let us just introduce the calendar. We will get more deeper, you know, in terms of the seasons, why there are 12 seasons, and, you know, what is the character of all these seasons, and the yin that we are allowed to do, you know, based on the character of the energy that is prevalent at that particular time. So we will get to that when I catch up. But please, people who can be here on Sundays, watch us, you know, on YouTube. A Great Empire of Kemet, Bonabakulu Basekem. Chogozin.
Thokoza mkhulu. Thokoza Ndlovukazi. We'll just take one or two more questions. I think we're coming to the end of our first session. So we'll allow for OG4D to ask their question, and then our last speaker will be Indlovukazi yakwaDlamini. Go ahead, OG.
Avjeni Sanbonani. Thanks for the mic. Yeah. Uxolo Baba, I just don't know how to address you. So I'm still new in this journey of funding myself. So angazi ukuthi umkhulu ubani, ukhehla ubani, so ngicela uxolo. I think it's something I'm still learning. Yeah. I think yeah. Ngiyabonga for this space.
Ngumkhulu
Umkhulu.
Yeah.
So umkhulu is when you're addressing umuntu omdala.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm called Umkulu because of my initiation. I went through initiation school, yes.
All right, no.
Igama ledlozi Umkhulu Nsingizi.
Oh, no, ngisafunda ba mara ngiyakhona. I think I'm in the right direction. Being in the space. Yeah, no, thanks for the space. I think maybe I'm going off subject. Ngifuna ukwazi ngendaba ye-diet as to Africa. Are we supposed to eat meat? Are we supposed to be vegetarians? About.
Yes, Kesha. That's a brilliant, question when I Kesha. Tina, as African people, remember Guti before kufika belungula inyama besidla, we used to eat meat once when there's a ceremony in the community, but most of the time we lived on herbs, imifino. That is what we used to eat, and we never had the concept of opening butchery, because we believed that you can't just slaughter a cow or a goat without a reason. We would slaughter these animals and we speak or we talk and inform the ancestors and inform the creator as to why we are actually doing that. So we're not in the business of, operating butcheries because eating meat every day was taboo. We were not used to that. Yes, we would eat meat, but once in a while. But most of the time we would, we're vegetarian, people. So that is what we found. That is what we learned from Ubabu Credo. And this is what you can also, get from just researching the history of African people. Yes, we did eat meat, but we never ate the meat the way we eat meat, ngakona, because, Coco said, umzimba wetu, our bodies were not meant to digest, meat, because it creates, the acid, and Dr. Sebi says, the acid food is the cause of all illnesses. He called it a mucus. When a mucus is clogged, your veins and everything, that is when you get about cancer, all these things. But the source of all illnesses is that mucus, which is generated by eating all these acidic, foods. So I fully agree with Nakesha. Africans, yes, but we are not supposed to eat it the way we eat it today. Actually, that's one of the first things. If we are to go back to who we are, we've got to try and eliminate. I know it's difficult, but we need to try and eliminate eating meat every day. Thokoza
mkhulu. Our last question, Delegile.
Thokozani Khayela Kemet,
Thokoza Ndlovukazi.
Thokoza, ngiyabonga ekhaya Kemet, ngibonga nawe omkhulu ukuthi unginike leli thuba. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and your knowledge ukuthi singene sokwazi ukuhleza sincele sisofunda sibancane sizithole ukuthi sisuka kuphi kahle kahle as abantu bakwantu. My question is around the moon cycle or the sun, but I think how the moon affects women in particular, because I know ukuthi kuya kumuntu esifazane esikhathini
is
Yeah.
very much in line with the moon. But angazi kahle ngifuna ngathi umkhulu angangichazela khona.
Yes, yes. Siyabonga kakhulu for lo mbuzo Ndlovukazi. This is a very important, question. Remember that men, they draw more from the energy of the sun. And, mama or women draw more from the energy of the moon. Let's explain the relationship between the sun and the moon. As I said earlier on, the moon doesn't generate its own energy. It receives the energy from the sun, but then the moon controls how much energy we receive here on Earth. And this is the very same thing that happens, go mama. Oh mama or women are directly linked to the cycle of the moon. Inyanga yingakho kuthiwa basesikhathini sani senyanga. So that there is a direct correlation, between my cycles, oh mama, and the moon. And when you look at our lives generally, emhlabeni, uzothola, you'll find that that women are very special and important. Why? Because through women, remember that you can't go to the sun, without going to the moon, through the moon. Why? Because the energy, the sun doesn't give us energy directly. The moon controls the energy that we receive here on Earth. So therefore, this thing that you go to the Father through the Son, it's not an African thing. We know that we go to the Father through the Mother. And exactly the same thing happens in our lives. When me as a child, I want something, I don't go directly to my father. I speak to my mother, because my mother has a way of speaking, to my father for me to be able to get what I want. So the very same thing happens, as above, so is below. So meaning that, and explaining why Africans in the past respected women. Women were yingakho nangesizulu, we call them amakhosikazi, those that are greater, than the king, itself, because there could never be a king without a mother. A mother gives birth to a king. So the female energy is very, very, very important, to Africans. So ngiyavuma Ndlovukazi, injalo. You guys are directly linked to the cycles, of the moon. Thokoza.
Thokoza, ngiyabonga mkhulu.
Thokoza.
Thokoza Ndlovukazi, Thokoza mkhulu. Lomokazi is having issues today.
If ungasekho umbuzo singavala Ndlovukazi.
Yes, sesivala mkhulu. That was the last question. Isikhathi sesihambile kakhulu. Lomokazi was just going to give us the social media places. Thank you for coming.
Akekho Matiwan.
Ndlovukazi, hello.
Ukhona.
Oh, okay.
Thokoza Mlomokazi. The floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, for our social, you can follow us on for YouTube. We've got the Great Kemet, the Great Empire of Kemet. Yabo Bonabakulu. MOBONAKHUL. The Great Empire of Kemet Bonabakulu for Twitter. And then follow us the podcast, because you can listen whereby we always find it's easier for people. Podcast, we've got Spotify, and then you also have got iPhone. It's, you just search for
network is bad.
Her network is bad, but she's just saying that we are also found on Apple. We've got a podcast on the Apple app. We've also got a Spotify podcast. You can also find us on the website. The website is, you can find our material as well. So if you go on www.gekmovement.org, you will be able to also download the Kemet Chat. Kemet Chat is an app that was recently launched. It's the one that contains the 12 kingdoms, where we are all in there. We are all chatting. The kingdoms you are put based on your birthdays. We are also on TikTok, Instagram. I think she also mentioned YouTube. And on Sundays at 11:30 South Africa time, you can start. You can make your way or get to Esigodlweni in Soweto. We always post. There's always a poster on our social media accounts on the address. I can't remember it by head right now, but you have to be there at 11:30 to prepare for umphato. We like to is partly on time at 12, so you have to be there on time every Sunday. I think that's all for today. We will host another session next week. We're just, as I said, this was the introduction. Next week we will continue, and continue to delve deeper and deeper into the African calendar as we make our way to 23 September, because we would like for the celebration to be, really huge. We want every and any African to be part of the celebrations of on the 23rd of September. So thank you so much. Siyabonga kakhulu. Thank you for tuning in, for listening in. If you have any questions as well, please go on our website. You can DM us. Hopefully our DM is open. If it's not, just head to the website and you can ask as many questions as you like over there. Kulu is always and anyone else within the kingdoms who is able to respond, we will be able to respond to you. I don't know, Matiwan is here. He's a listener. I don't know why he's not coming up. But yeah, I think for today we would really like to thank Mkhulu Nsingiza. Siyabonga. Siyabonga kakhulu Mkhulu. Thank you so much for dropping the bombshells of knowledge as you always do.
Thokoza hotep Makehla, thokozani, siyabonga kakhulu for listening. Please spread the words about the calendar. We want all Africans to partake in all our ceremonies, starting with the one now on the 21st of March, but the biggest one we should make it a success is the African Youth